Miss Gloria Lambrano.
Thank you.
My name is Gloria LeBron first. On behalf of the Young Scholars, I'd like to welcome you to our first Norristown Area High School Women's Empowerment Summit. This event wouldn't be possible without our partner, Ms. Davis. Ms. Davis, can you please come to the podium? Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aya Davis. I work as a substitute here at Norristown, and I want to thank Ms. McGuire and the talented students who participated in the Young Scholars Program. So just some insight as to why I originally brought this idea to Ms. McGuire, which I have to say, the Young Scholars took this beyond anything that I first had in mind. And I printed, or I wrote something up and then I didn't print it. So here I go. I was a freshman in high school in 2005 from New Orleans, Louisiana. Hurricane Katrina ripped through New Orleans and my family relocated to Washington, D.C. When we realized we were going to stay there longer than a weekend, my sister and I, believe it or not, we begged, please put us in a school to establish some sense of normalcy in our lives. And I said, please don't put us in a public school. Why? Not because I have anything against public schools. But like Norristown, public schools in Washington, D.C. don't wear uniform. And we didn't have anything. So we went to a private school. We were fortunate enough to be accepted into an all-girls Catholic school in the Georgetown area of Washington, D.C. So adults may be familiar with Georgetown. If not, I'll say the school waived tuition for us. They gave us free lunch. They gave us uniforms. They gave us laptops. They really made us feel welcome in their community. One day there was an assembly for students on internet safety. And 2 Secret Service members came and talked about watch what you put online. Whatever you put online, it stays out there. You don't own it anymore. And who knows, ladies, one day your husband might be running for office. And nobody blinked. Nobody thought anything about it. And I remember, I will never forget, a teacher said after the meeting, or after assembly to my class, your parents don't pay $100,000 for you to go to high school for your highest aspirations to be who you marry. And so it's really important for me that we have these type of events put on by the Young Scholars, these amazing group of kids, for teachers, and for all of you guys who support and participate in events like this, because women all around the world are breaking glass ceilings every single day, thanks to these type of gatherings where people are like, what can we do to support women, to encourage women, to lift women up? Whether it's about sisterhood, whether it's about leadership, putting in this work, being at programs like this is what makes the difference. And so thank you all so much for being here. Thanks to the Young Scholars for putting this on. And thank you, Norristown. I loved it.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Before our program begins, we would like to take a moment of silence to acknowledge women and girls in our community and worldwide who has been and still are victims of violence, abuse, and discrimination.
Today we gather together to bring awareness in regard to issues women continue to grapple with in all aspects of life. For too long, women have faced inequalities at home and in the workplace, in school and in politics, in relationships, and as objectified images in the media. We ask each of you to take a stand against these patriarchal norms and challenge yourself and one another to become the positive force to will empower your generation.
We also gather to celebrate the triumphs that women have accomplished despite adversity and marginalization. We will explore the power in women in diverse careers, and we can also shine as leaders, thinkers, and revolutionaries.
Before our job fair begins, we'd like to welcome a powerful woman from our own Norristown area high school community. Ms. Belinsky, a beloved teacher of history and psychology, is not only an advocate for her students, but also her colleagues in her role as NEA union representative. She credits her success with the strong female role model she had in life. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful, the beloved, the marvelous Miss Krista Belinsky.
Somebody wants extra credit. Hi everybody, so like Ms. Turner said, my name's Chris Belinsky, and just a little bit of background information about me as I look out into a sea of some of my students and some of my colleagues. Been here at the high school for about 10 years, and I'm also a true Norristonian, grew up in Norristown my whole life, so I can't thank Ms. McGuire and the young scholars enough for inviting me here today to be what I now found to be the only speaker. Okay, it's a lot of pressure on me. All right, hopefully I make this good. Wasn't too much of a trip for me, I just came down from the 3rd floor. So, like Ms. Turner said, I'm the psych teacher here at the high school, so this is not just gonna be about women for me, because no gender bias, no gender stereotypes. It's about empowerment for all people, especially the boys in the room as well. And I thank the gentlemen for showing up today to the Women's Empowerment Summit. So I'm going to talk just really briefly today about something that's really important to me, and that is everyday leadership. As the psych teacher, of course, it's about empowerment, it's about identity, figuring out who you're meant to be, and more importantly, how can you be a leader? So a little bit of an interactive to get us started. Going to have people raise their hand in the moment, so just brace yourself for that. How many people in the room today think that they are a leader? That you'd be willing enough to raise your hand and say, I'm a leader? Okay. Goes without saying, we have a lot of leaders in the room, and in reality, I believe, in my humble opinion, that we're all leaders, and that we all have the qualities to really come into our own and lead by example. So what I'd like you to do for me right now, it's not a test, no one's going to be graded, but I want you to think about famous leaders or leaders that you know, and envision these people. Famous people, celebrities, people in your own life. Who would you say is a leader? And I'm thinking about these people too. So a lot of people, when they think about leaders, they think about, the big names. They'll think about presidents, they'll think about politicians, artists, celebrities, people that they know throughout history. But for me, when I think about leaders, I think about 4 names. And you probably won't know many of these names. First person I think of is Rita Kristinek. She's my grandmother. I think of Christine Belinsky, who's my mother. Thank you, juvenile probation, for being here. I think of Audrey Dudley, who's my friend and colleague. She's the leader in this school. And I think of another person that none of you have met. Her name's Caitlin Lally, and she's my best friend of 20 years. And I think we live in a society where we think about leader as some huge goal, some big prize that we have to work our whole lives for. Maybe we have to be on the cover of Time magazine or get on the front cover of the Times Herald. But in my humble opinion, again, I think we're all leaders. We all have the ability to be a leader. And when we think of leaders, we need to think of our mothers, our grandmothers, our family, our friends, people who have done things for us that maybe we have never thanked them for. And maybe we should start thanking them. If this whole event is about empowerment, like a lot of things, start at home. So today, just a little side test for everybody, even the adults in the room. Think about someone in your life who has really helped you. Empower them, empower yourself, and say thank you. All right. As the history teacher as well, I can't forget Teddy Roosevelt, because he is a true leader and one of my favorite American presidents. And Teddy Roosevelt had an incredible quote about integrity. He said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, I care not about what you think I do, but I care very much about what I think about what I do. That's integrity. So when we talk about empowerment and how you can be a better version of yourself and help other people and be a leader, you want to think about, what are you doing when nobody's watching? When nobody's patting you on the back or giving you a sticker or saying, wow, you are incredible. What are the everyday little things that you're doing to stand out. And maybe by standing out, showing someone an example that they can lead their lives by. As I wrap it up today so we can get ready for this incredible event, I want to just briefly mention one of my favorite motivational speakers. His name is Drew Dudley, no relation to Audrey Dudley, who I mentioned before. Drew Dudley is an incredible speaker, and he works primarily on college campuses, working with young people like I do, and he built a career at that. And what Drew really believes is that, like me, that everyone has the potential to be a leader, and that most of us are already leaders. Little things we do, the way we treat people, the way we plan our lives. And just like I said, I want to say it one more time, as we go out today and we want to empower ourselves and others, start thanking those people who are leaders in your own lives. In psychology, there's this idea of the self-fulfilling prophecy, that people have an idea about who you are. And I grew up in Norristown, so obviously people had an idea about who I am, especially when I go out of Norristown and I say, I grew up in Norristown, I work at Norristown Area High School. They certainly have an idea of what I am and where I came from. And in my life, I realized quite early that you don't have to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I came from a single mother. She got her college education after I was born. And if you didn't know my mother, she's a great mother, great lady, but if you didn't know her and you just looked at the statistics about single mothers and single mothers without a college education, you might have had some ideas about where I was going to turn out. But my mother, like my grandmother before her, believed in education, the power of education. That's why I'm so happy to see so many young people here today. And I just believe so strongly that nobody has to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Today's a new day. Write your own prophecy. And certainly go out and start thanking those people who are leaders in your own life. So I hope you have a great day. What a great event, and I can't thank the young scholars enough. And thank you for hearing me out. Have a great day.
So thank you to Ms. Belinsky. We will definitely take your words with us as we make our own mark. We now invite you to participate in our Women's Empowerment Job Fair. You will be able to learn about a variety of fields and interact with several female experts who can provide you with their own real-world experience.
We have now asked a group of men and women to participate in a panel discussion. Each brings a unique perspective, and we plan to cover a range of topics. We now welcome the members of the panel to briefly introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Roth, and I have the privilege of being the principal of the Norristown Area High School.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jody Dunston, and I have the privilege of being an assistant principal here at Norristown Area High School.
My name is Andrea Sipple, and I work for the Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services in the Office of Public Health, more specifically in the Division of Environmental Field Services.
Hi, I'm Rielle Edwards-Laws. I work at Benefit Allocation Systems as the EIE.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Rodriguez. Rodriguez Devine. I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. And about a month ago, I left my firm and started a new firm. Yay! Good afternoon. My name is Selena McCabe. I work for Norman Products, and I lead their Global Talent Acquisition team.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm a social impact writer, and I'm also the founder of a nonprofit called Bridge. We do social emotional learning programs in schools that we access through yoga and mindfulness.
I'm Jonathan Eisen. I'm a teacher at Norristown area.
Hi, I'm Katie Kohler, class of 99. I am a freelance and media journalist and a content creator for a brand consulting company.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Schmidt. I'm class of 1984. I am a retired public relations professional and currently chairman of the board at Variety Children's Charity.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cunningham. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Crazy Erin's Honey World, which is the movie thing that a lot of you guys are doing. We're opening up our brand new facility in Norristown in about 2 months. So. Hi, I'm Janae Hill. I'm the Quality Assurance Specialist for my company, DLL. It's a global finance company that's located in over 30 different countries throughout the globe.
Hi, my name is Katrina Gilbert. I am the owner and event planner and interior designer for Petite Pet Philadelphia. We have 2 event spaces in Philadelphia where we host events from weddings, bridal showers, great baby showers, and more.
Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Sanders. I am president of the Norristown City Council.
We now welcome sophomores Olivia Turner, Matthew McCrae, and freshman Deja Robinson, who will be our moderators for today's discussion. The following questions were created by a diverse group of students. For our female members of the panel, what challenges did you face in high school and college?
There's some
The mics are on them.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? So this is a little personal, but I grew up in the city of Philadelphia, and my family, being Puerto Rican, we were the only Puerto Rican family in a small neighborhood called Fairmount. So growing up in elementary school, I went to school with a lot of children who were of Irish descent. Go figure, my married name now is McCabe. But it was interesting, right? It was a lot more about just curiosity and unknowns in elementary school, carrying into an all-girls Catholic high school. I got to meet girls from different neighborhoods, different diversities, different cultures, and that was amazing for me. Taking those lessons and interactions with people made me more curious. So when I got to Temple University, it was just secondhand. Didn't matter if you were Puerto Rican, Irish, Chinese, Japanese, African American. It was more about, do you like to play softball? I like to play softball. What are we gonna do? Do you wanna hang out? Just finding that common interest and asking questions coming from a curiosity place. I think if it comes from a good place, you have to go with it. You can't be afraid to be who you are, and you can't be afraid to share and inquire about somebody else and who they are. Because good people come in all shapes, sizes, genders, etc.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth. One of the challenges that I faced was that I excelled here in Norristown academically in the sciences. So I went away to college in the pre-med track, thinking for sure I was going to be Dr. Roman one day, until I got my transcript my first semester, and the only A on my transcript was in English, and the science classes not so much. So one of the challenges that I think are important to accept as you're going through your careers in education and as you get into college is to take those cues to where your strengths really lie, because you may not really identify them until you get into other situations down the road.
Hi, I'm Katrina. One of the challenges I feel like was a struggle for me in college was I had to work. I had to work my entire college life. I did attend Temple as well. And, that school is a really hard school. It's not an easy school. And me having to work every day and go to school was a real struggle for me because, like she said, a lot of the other peers that was there, they came from all different places, and I come from a place where, we just don't have a lot of resources or money or things like that. These people, they already had like everything. They didn't have to work. So I feel like I lost a lot of my college life, like having fun or doing all the things like that because I had to work. But then I later established that, this was just my journey. This is what I need to do to build myself up and just give me a little bit more strength. But I definitely struggled with finding balance with going to work and having like a full-time job to pay myself and to take care of myself and to do and to excel at school. I did completely fail one semester, and that was really tough for me because I'm a very smart woman. Like I was like, okay, what am I going to do with these and us? But that's because I really had to work. So I did struggle with that, but I did eventually find balance. It took me like an extra year to graduate, but I did end up graduating with honors.
One of my biggest challenges, you have to press and hold the button. Okay. One of my biggest challenges in high school for me was I was a teen mom. I ended up having 2 kids by my senior year. And I remember my guidance counselor said to me, oh, you'll never make it. And it really broke my soul to know that someone that you looked up to someone for guidance really just categorized you and said, okay, you're a statistic, I'm gonna write you off, you're not worth my time, and got out of my office. Let me go ahead and help the kid that has these straight A's, and that's when it's fast tracked to college and Ivy Leagues, and I wasn't that. And for me, that I really allowed that statement to define who I was for a very, very long time. And I remember it got to a point where I was training people in an organization that hired everybody who had a degree. And I didn't have my degree, but I was training these people who were on paper they were more qualified than I was. So now, fast forward, like I said earlier, I'm working at a global finance company, I'm making really good money, I like to think, and now I do have my degree. So it's put me in a position where I think the hardest thing for me was not to allow someone to define you and allow that to kind of shortchange who you are. So I think that was one of my biggest challenges in high school.
Our next question is, what are benefits of being a woman in your field?
There's at least one mic that works up there.
Okay.
Maybe we just pass
I found it.
Thank you.
So I work in operations, which means basically run a company, a manufacturing company. And I would say it is tough to find benefits of being a woman when you are the person in charge of everyone else. It is something I feel it constantly, every single day. People look at me and, I think I'm a fairly young woman, I'll just say. And, they definitely look at me, and if I'm standing next to someone else who works with me who's a male, they'll look at me and then they'll talk to him. I see it all the time. And I think that even though that is really a challenge on a day-to-day basis, it's what pushes me really, really hard. Yeah, I'm gonna work harder, I'm gonna work more, but it is because I will prove to every single person that you should be speaking to me in the room, and regardless of the fact if I'm a woman or a man or it doesn't even matter. The person who is the leader, as was spoken about in the beginning of this, is that the one that's in charge. So it makes it challenging, but I would say on the other side, Also being a mom, which, and I'm sure, men are fabulous fathers as well, but being a mom, I think, brings, a different voice maybe to the conversation, and just something that has, someone who's running a company, but also then goes home and has 2 teenagers at home that I'm dealing with, that gives, another perspective in terms of what it's like to be a leader. As much as I would love to be a leader to my children, they seem to usually be the leader of me, so that keeps it in perspective and keeps you grounded in a way that's important. So I would just say that it is always a benefit to be a woman, because at the end of the day, there is nothing that women cannot do. And even though it can be challenging at times, it's what gives us that strength to be the absolutely best in the room and have people talking to us all the time.
I would like to add to that question. What was the question again? How does being a woman benefit you? I would like to add, how does being a Norristown woman benefit me? First of all, thank you for having me here today, and I brought my mother with me. She's incredibly empowered. Without her, I wouldn't be an empowered woman or be able to do anything that I've been able to do without her. And if you feel the same when you go home, if you are as lucky as I am to be able to call your mother every day, please do so. Woo! Now, being a Norristown woman has benefited me because it has made me tough. It has given me the courage and the bravery I need to go out, and I know my mother is going to cringe so bad, but I'm going to say it. I'm sorry, Mom. It has given me the courage to wake up in the morning and try to kick ass. Being a journalist, really since high school, you have to come up with ideas. You have to write stuff that you're not popular all the time. There are people that get upset with what you write about. You have to be brave. You have to stand behind what you write about. And in Norristown, if somebody doesn't like what you're doing, they will let you know, and they will not be nice about it. And they will have their friends tell you, and their friends tell you, and it's happened when I was 16, and it happened to me on my way in. And you just have to be like, okay, and know that what you're doing is right. Now, as a content creator in a marketing consultancy that they want new, fresh ideas every day, you have to stand up and say, this is my idea. And you can't be like, well, I think, or be sheepish about it. You have to say, this is my idea. This is what I wrote. And know that all your work going back to Norristown High School, going back to my bedroom in Norristown has brought me to this point, and it is good enough. And being a Norristown woman has given me the strength to do that. Woo!
And I would just like to add a little bit to that. You guys hear me? So I think women are great at multitasking. Somebody was asking me how long I've been a lawyer, and I said 30 years, and they're like, how many cases do you handle? And I said, well, anywhere from 100 to 120. And I think the fact that I am a woman, I can do a lot. I can sometimes endure a lot more than a man can. I have 2 jobs, right? I am a lawyer during the day, and when I go home, I have 3 children, and that's my second job. So it's a continuous labor for me as a woman. And I think that, men are great at it, but I think women are just, they hit it out of the park every single day. We are really hard workers, and when we put our minds to what we want, what we need, and who we need to take care of, we do great things. So I think that the fact that we're able to endure and multitask better than men.
So just to kind of bounce off, and I don't know your name down there, but the Norristown lady. I went to Coatesville, so I'm sure some of you are familiar with Coatesville. It's a very similar demographic and atmosphere as Norristown, and it certainly made me a stronger person. You know, I'm not going to pretend to understand bullying in the digital age because I predate that by many years. But there was one girl that bullied me in middle school, and it gave me the strength to just be a stronger person because I never for 1 second ever let her get to me. I ignored her. I didn't give her the time of day for what she was picking on me for, and that carried through, and I think it made me a stronger person. And to reflect off of your question, I work for the Montgomery County Office of Public Health, and it is more heavily weighed in females when it comes to public health. All of our nurses are females. All of our communicable disease intervention specialists are females. I work in environmental, so there are more men in my field, and there are 4 supervisors, and I am the only female supervisor. I have 3 male colleagues, and I'm fortunate in the fact that they're very respectful men, but I also think that I can bring a little something else to the table when it comes to rational thought. We just think about things differently. So I'm fortunate that they listen to what I have to say, they factor that in, and we have a very good working environment. But you have to sometimes bring a little something extra to be heard, and it's not fair, but sometimes that's how life's going to be, and that's what you're going to have to do. So you guys are at a young age now that, you know, you're very impressionable, and this is the time to get your strength and to be confident in yourself. That confidence will take you a very, very long way.
So if I may add,
Yeah, pass the mic.
pass the mic now.
So if I may add, Katie Kohler mentioned that she was a Norristown girl. I'm a Norristown girl as well, class of 1985. So knowing the struggles and being a Norristown native, I know the struggles. And as a young child, I always wanted to give back to the community. I didn't graduate from college right after school like the normal folks did. I, at the time, had a daughter at an early age right after I graduated, so I missed the opportunity to go to school in college and to experience college life. However, I was blessed with a family that was very supportive, and in doing so, my determination, motivation, and drive was what brought me to where I'm today, based on the struggles of Norristown, whether being the good or the bad. So my first-time job, my full-time job is being a policy director and a line manager in the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. And there I deal with 120 deputies. The majority are male. There are maybe 9 women deputies. So bringing the experience of being a woman to discussions and coming to the table, I feel that I bring the nurturing, bringing the level-headedness, and always bridging the gaps. And I always look for hearing what every person has to say. You just can't be the person to want to go along and do the status quo. And my part-time job as a Norristown City Council president is very, very difficult to make decisions. And I didn't come on council to be popular. I knew going along that it would be a tough journey. And being a tough journey, I make tough decisions every day. And yes, the Norristown folks, if they don't like the decisions that you make, they will not like you. And I'm fine with them not liking me, because at the end of the night, I can lay my head down and go to sleep knowing that I made the right decision, and I go by my morals and what's best for all.
Has discrimination ever discouraged you from reaching your goals?
No.
Actually, I was discriminated actually by a woman, which for me, for the life of me to this day, just can't understand why. Because I feel like, you know, as women, we need to stick together. We need to empower each other. Unfortunately, you know, we're doing much better, but it's always like a man's world. So prior to me opening my company, I used to work for a company called the Philadelphia Housing Authority. It's similar to like the Norristown Housing Authority. I worked there for 10 years. I went there directly. I started an internship there in college, and I became a full-time employee right after graduation. So I had this, you know, I did well. I keep getting promotion, and then I got promoted to a place where my direct supervisor was a woman, and she just was a really mean lady. Like, she was just so mean. I just could not understand why she was so mean. But, you know, I just continued to do my job, did my best, did my due diligence every day by coming to work on time, just, you know, excelling, doing beyond my job description. And it just never was enough for her. So at some point, I did become discouraged in my job. I did become discouraged, although it didn't stop me from doing what I did. I just felt like I reached a certain point in my career, which it just was a really tough time in my life. Which that then led to a layoff, which is why I started my own company. And even, you know, with the whole discrimination, when I got laid off, it took a toll on me personally because I just couldn't understand with all the hard work that I did, why was I not accepted by this woman, regardless of what. And I just had to learn that, you know, that's not, it's something that I just couldn't control. You know, I just couldn't control why she didn't really want to accept me. So I wasn't discriminated by a man. I wasn't just, you know, discriminated by race. She was also an African-American woman. It was just something about her that did discourage me. So it did bring me down for a little bit, you know, a good year before I really just had to pull myself back together and say, look, hey, you know, you're talented, you're beautiful, you're amazing, and just really have to encourage myself to be better, which the layoff was a blessing in disguise because now I have an amazing company that's been excelling since I opened since the layoff. So it did discourage me, but it didn't hold me back.
So I feel like I've been discouraged because of discrimination pretty much my entire life. I'm 29 now, and I feel like that's still a thing that I'm like unpacking every day and trying to grow from. And I don't really know that that ends. I kind of think that might be just life, is like continually growing from that. But I think, especially with a lot of the answers that we're hearing right now, everything is kind of tied to identity, and that's been really important to me, especially with the communities that I've been a part of throughout my whole life. Coming from a low-income community, being first generation, being biracial, being in the LGBTQ community, there are so many things, being a woman, being a person of color, there are so many things that people will have an idea about you, and that sometimes can help, but sometimes can hurt a lot, and it will knock you down, and it'll be people that look like you sometimes who are the ones who are discriminating against you, and that hurts the most. I can think of, there's been a couple of times I've been in the position where people will respond to me differently, and I think a lot of times it comes from being a woman of color. And you know, I can write the same email as one of my white coworkers, and they'll think that mine was like rude, or it will be the same language, but maybe I didn't put a smiley face or something. People think that I'm angry or being like aggressive. And that's a thing that like, it makes you step back and be like, am I doing something wrong? Is there something wrong with me? And it just kind of leads you to a point that was huge for me when you realize like, when that starts happening to you, you just have to realize like, okay, these are not my people. Because there's someone out there who's going to look at the work that you're doing and the words that you're saying, and it's going to mean a lot to them, and you need to go with those people. Because there's just going to be, no matter what you do, you can be the most perfect person, you can spend all day and all night trying to be perfect so that everyone's going to like you, but it's never going to work, and it's just going to keep setting you back. So yeah, I feel like I've been discouraged. I've been discouraged a lot, but that's what kind of led me to doing what I'm doing now. Now I work for myself, and it just kind of got to a point where I was like, you know, I actually don't want to hear, unless you have like some constructive criticism, that's really cool, but otherwise, let me just do this on my own, and we'll see how that goes. And maybe like I have a perspective that you haven't thought of yet, and here it is.
Yeah. About a year and a half ago, I was over 100 pounds heavier, and I was, discriminated against. And in networking events, when I went for jobs, it was definitely a thing. And some people are like, well, maybe you're just more confident now because you're not as heavy. The way people treat me now is incredibly different. And if I thought about how different it is, it could really upset me and make me depressed on the state of affairs of the world and how we look at people and how we base so much on looks. But a year and a half ago, I was still a good writer, but I was not getting anywhere near the opportunities I got once I lost weight. And I think that crosses race barriers, but it's something that women deal with because I don't see men that were the weight I was at having anywhere near the problems that I have.
What is one dream you like to see for women in your lifetime?
Woman president.
I think I'd love to see a place where we wouldn't have to have a women's empowerment summit because women would already have that power and know that they have that power. So I think along with the woman president.
I have a daughter who's 18, who's a freshman in college, and I would love to see a time when women and girls can dress the way they want to dress, and be comfortable with their bodies, and not be worried that they're going to be assaulted or attacked. I'd love to see that come sometime soon.
A woman president will never happen until we're kind to each other, until women are kind to each other, and instead of saying, oh, she looks great today, and then turning around being like, she looks like she put on some weight, or that dress is hideous. Lift each other up. If you meet a great woman, the woman sitting next to me, I met a couple of years ago, Mary Beth, and if you meet someone that is inspiring to you and does great work, you don't have to be best friends and braid each other's hair every Saturday night, but make an effort to keep them in your life somehow. Build a tribe of women around you that you want to help out. And that's my hope for you, is that you'll surround yourself throughout your life, not just in high school, but as you go, with women that inspire you and women that you would like to help out. And be kind to each other.
I would like to see a time where people they're not surprised that a woman can do it. That people don't say to women, oh, you're smart for a girl. That things like that would not be said, that you would just expect her to be smart. You would expect her to do anything that a man can do, and not be surprised at the fact that she can read, write, or very basic things, and just expect her to be a regular human being and not just congratulate her because she can do it and you're surprised because she's a woman.
Last question.
I would, so in degrees, you have women of color, Black women, that are leading in associate's degrees, bachelor's, master's, JDs, yet and still we get paid 63 cents on every dollar for our white male counterparts. So what I would like to see is African American women all across the globe getting paid what they deserve and not a penny less.
For our last
last question. Do you have a daughter? If so, what are your aspirations for her?
So I have two. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I think, you know, it is definitely true when you are a guy and you have daughters, it changes your perspective on the world. I'll admit, you know, I've been a lot of places where things have been said about women that just should never have been said. And that's true in school, that's true in the workplace, that's true out on athletic fields, it's true everywhere. And I think that I want my girls to be, you know, they're gonna grow to be like their mother, right? Who is the smartest, strongest person I know. She's fantastic, my wife is the best. But I want my girls to be respected. You know, I listen to everything that's been said here today, and it breaks my heart to know that unless there's some serious change, they are gonna struggle to be respected. They are going to be treated differently. They are going to be paid less. That when they have a great thought, it's only gonna be listened to as long as someone like me is smart enough to shut their mouth, because guys get listened to first. Those things I think guys have to be conscious of, right? White, straight, male privilege is a real thing. And white, straight, male, Christian men need to realize that. And if that happens, then we can do our part to make sure that my girls are respected. Because they're gonna run the world one day, right? You know, Avery's gonna be that female president one day, because if you tell her no, she'll try a little harder. But that's all I want. I just want for them to not have to deal with the things that I know happen, and maybe we as males don't admit that enough.
I don't have a daughter, I have a son, but I have students, female students here at Norristown Area High School, and I would want them to know that they have a voice in this world. Young people have changed this world, and I want the female students at Norristown Area High School to know that they have a voice. Use it. Use your voice to inspire. Use your voice to encourage. Use your voice to say yes. Use your voice to say no. Use your voice to stand up, not only for yourselves, but for others. You have a voice in this world, use it to inspire. Make a difference.
I don't have any kids, but I do have a 2-year-old niece who will give your daughter a run for the money when it comes to president, because she's amazing. Everyone thinks their kids and their nieces and nephews are amazing. But I just hope that she can grow up in a world that she has every opportunity that she wants available to her, and nobody in her way telling her no. And she also needs to be kind, because to reflect on what was said earlier, that you can't put other women down. It doesn't get you anywhere. You have to be kind to everybody. So if that's a world that she can evolve into in the next 15 years, then I think she'll be good.
I don't have any kids either, but I do have a little sister, and I tell her that she has no limits, she has no boundaries, that she should not let anything come and stop her from doing what she wants to do in life. If she wants to be a teacher, she wants to be a lawyer, she wants to be a doctor, that nothing should stop her from doing that, because there are so many opportunities in this world, and for you to have a dream, you need to go after it and not let anything stop you from getting what you want out of this world.
So I have 2 daughters, and what I'd like to see for them, to reach a level in their lives where they are confident and that they do not let a man define them, that they do not allow a man to belittle them, to reduce them, and that they not allow a man to break up with them by text. And that they value themselves.
So I have 2 boys, and for For those of you that have daughters, my goal is to raise respectful and respectable young men, not to have them fear a woman and treat her as if she has a disability, but rather to encourage her to be who she is. And holding a door is okay, all right? Doesn't mean that we're weak, but making sure that you don't assume women are weak because of chivalry and stuff. But making sure that they associate themselves as young, respectful men who see a woman for who she is, a smart, intelligent individual who deserves the same opportunities as they do.
So I also do not have kids, but a lot of my students, whenever I work with students because I usually see myself in a lot of the young people I work with. And my biggest thing is I'm totally on board with being kind to each other. I think that's really important. I think it's also impossible to do that if you can't be kind to yourself. So I would really like to see a future, and all of my work is what I'm trying to do is make the world a little bit softer so that, you know, you can come across these people who, because of their own things, are going to treat you in a certain way, but you can still look in the mirror and say, like, no, I know who I am, and I know what I'm doing here. And so that's really important to me. I want to see a world where people have a little bit more stability in who they are and are like unwilling to be swayed from that.
I don't have any children of my own, but I do work with children. So my encouragement to all my students is to constantly use your voice and to listen to others as well, especially when you have certain privilege. Listen to those without that privilege that society offers you. And when you're not being listened to, especially because you're lacking that privilege, it's okay to be rude. I noticed most of my students that apologize are always women, young women, and I think that's sometimes really sad that a lot of times the young women that I work with apologize for things that they don't need to apologize for, and they think it's rude. Sometimes you have to be rude. Men take that for granted, and they benefit from it. So standing up and speaking out is not quote unquote rude. It's sometimes what needs to be done.
I am child-free by choice. Think about the words I used, child-free by choice, and know that that's your decision. You don't have to have 2.5 kids and white picket fence and a husband or a wife, or envision what you want your life to be like and create it.
I have 2 daughters, a 21-year-old and a 15-year-old. And for them, I wish them to be happy in whatever it is that they choose to do. And I think, you know, all of us here at the table, with families and careers, or with careers and extended families, or careers and hobbies, know that work-life balance is a very, very difficult thing to achieve. And, you know, in being, you know, often the primary caretaker of our children, that's often come into play in our professional situations, and has often made me feel like I should be at the kids' games when I'm at the office, or I should be at the office when I'm at the kids' games. And I just wish for my kids that whatever they choose to be, that they're happy and fulfilled with the balance that they're able to achieve.
I have an 18-year-old daughter, and I would say she's not going to be president of the United States, and that is absolutely okay. And she is fantastic, but definitely not president material. I would say, though, that my aspiration for her is that she realizes that life is not what you see on social media, and that there is more to being successful and happy in the future than what Kim Kardashian puts on her Instagram feed, and that there's a lot of jobs in the world. There's a lot of ways to be successful, and I just have to call out the fantastic managers who all came from Crazy Erin, who are almost all women. We have a team of almost all female people in charge, and they're all over there. And I think that they're running operations, they're running human resources, they're running sales, they're running marketing, they're running projects. They're just doing everything that goes into running a business on a regular basis, and they rock at it. So I just hope that she sees that there's a million different ways to be successful in the world and to be happy. And it's not about what you're posting in your bikini shot on a fake vacation. It's about just feeling good about yourself every day.
So I have a daughter, she's back there in the Howard hat. My biggest thing for my daughter and any young girl, especially ones who don't have the time to kind of grow through the next 15 years because you're already there, it's just two things. It's self-worth, really know who you are, take time to do a self-evaluation, see who you are, and appreciate who you are, and self-development. You have to constantly develop yourself. It's not to say that you're not happy with who you are, but it's so important to continually reflect on where you are, where you want to be, and take active steps to achieve that, opposed to looking at this bigger picture and end result. There's so many crucial steps that need to happen between now and then, and as long as you're making those self-reflections and evaluating who you are and making active steps to achieve this desired version of where you want to be, that's going to really, that's what's going to set you apart from others. You have to have a plan, and that's what puts people in a successful bracket. People who aren't really successful is because they're not really thinking about how they're going to get to the next step. They're just thinking about the end game. So really just make those self-evaluations and continue to develop yourself.
I'm at the end, so everybody had really amazing answers. I do have a daughter, she's 2 years old. She's very feisty, so I don't even know about her aspirations at this point. But I do inspire. I do want her to just be overall an amazing woman. I just want her to be, I agree with everybody else, but I want her to be even better than who I am. I am raising my children totally different from the way I was raised. They will know hard work and how to treat people accordingly. However, I also want my daughter to know that you don't have to be what society says you need to be as a woman. We have all these rules when they say how women need to dress and how they need to eat and how they need to look and how they need to be accepted. And I just disagree with so much stuff that society has made women to be over the years. You only had to dress a certain way to be smart. It's really women who might wear a little bit more promiscuous clothes, but it don't mean that they're stupid. It's just a matter that's just the way that they like to carry themselves. There is women who decide to have children without marriage. It don't mean they don't, just because they're not married, they just decided not to get married. They just still want to have children because they want to have offspring. So there's so many different wrong things in the society that the world says women need to be. And I just want my daughter to just be who she decides to be. Of course, to be, a beautiful and modest woman, but be who you are, Everybody, we're all different. Everybody who's handles different, but we're all amazing.
So I do have a daughter who attends here, and some of you know who she is, so I will not, I will attempt to not embarrass her. So my aspirations for her is to be that woman of a sisterhood to all women of different backgrounds, different colors, different shapes, and for her to know that success does not define you, and it's for her to begin to love herself first and to understand herself before she can respect and to love others. And most importantly, the last aspiration for her is for her to not put limitations on her dreams or her aspirations, and to know that there are no limitations, and any impediments that she may come across in life is that they're just small bumps in the road, and they're just only going to make her stronger. In addition to that, I also let her know that the world is not kind, just based off of all of the feedback all of these amazing women and men have provided to us. And it's also learning how to cope and deal with some of those folks that aren't as kind. And to know that it's okay for her to be different. And if she has friends that are different, it's okay to love them the same. So I just encourage her to keep pushing through, and I encourage all of us amazing women to continue to push through. And the men on the panel, we thank you for being with us today. And what I would like to add to that is just knowing that someday women will be equal and treated as being equals.
So we're on a bit of a time constraint because the kids have to take the late bus home, but I have a dismissal plan. But I just wanted to give a little bit of respect to our superintendent, Dr. Samuels, amazing female leader who chose to sit back today and let her staff and the students do the work. We did invite her to be on the panel or to speak or to be the speaker, and she showed true leadership today, and I think letting the school shine. So I asked her though to speak at our little balloon launch. So if you guys have to come back, adults have to come back inside and get things. But if you wouldn't mind joining us and releasing a balloon to, break the glass ceiling, and as well as to release either your dream or a dream for a female in your life. And kids, there are late bus passes when you get a balloon. So you're gonna grab your balloon, grab your late bus, and you guys participate on